Central Ozarks Medical Center, hometown hero, longtime contributor with the District of Morgan County. Our two Versailles, go ahead and...
Sure. When you asked me about this, the one person there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Look, man, I can give you a list of great people doing great things. But when you mentioned this, a hometown hero, there's a guy who was a teacher of mine, a coach of mine, a mentor, whether he knew it or not, and a guy who has coached at a high level, affected kids at a high level, and still does, and that being Kent Chamberlain.
Yeah.
I'm a true Versailles boy. I bleed black and gold all the way to my bone marrow. And he's another one just like that. I rely on this man for a lot of information, a lot of the sports history people like. I shoot Kent text all the time. Kent gives me a lot of info, and I think he enjoys all this stuff too. But Kent Chamberlain to me, this is a guy, I was sitting there writing some stuff down. 22 years as a basketball coach, 11 as a head coach. He coached under John Hensley, which was a great coach for us. His time as a head coach, 174 and 101, one of the winningest coaches in Versailles history. 6 conference titles, 6 district titles, 3 sectional titles, a Final Four in 2005 where we finished third. We were on the doorstep of that one. We could have won that whole thing that year. He also coached golf. I cannot remember how many years exactly, but 10 conference, it was 4 conference titles in golf, 7 more district titles, 3 top 4 finishes in our school's only state championship in 1994.
Champions, baby.
In
94,
golf.
that's signed proudly outside Rolling Hills.
Here's a man, 10 conference titles, 13 district, and 4 top 4 finishes in both sports combined. You cannot talk about Versailles sports without Kent Chamberlain. And the guy could coach, he'd get the best out of a kid. And then he kind of goes off into admin. He gets out of the I'm done with the coaching
Which he
thing.
made a difference in my life, an admin role, after he was done coaching. Because he was my assistant principal. And I hate to tell you, you knew this, because you might have sent me there a time or two, but I spent a lot of time in that office.
Yeah, you probably got to know.
But he was great. And he knew how to deal with every different type of kid, how to mentor him. And you said he's not done making a difference.
No, and the thing about Kent is, being the head of MCAC, Kent has always jumped in and coached football for us. He did 2 basketball teams this year, had them both in the championship. And when you watch him coach, he coaches my son the same way he did Nathan Frazier, hard.
Who's an all-state player from 05.
Yes, yeah. He has not lost anything. I think Kent's up in his 60s now, but he loves it. And he still gives back to his community, whatever it takes to help Versailles. Kent is a true community guy. Now, there's a bunch of others, man. I could go on and on.
Right.
But Kent Chamberlain is just one who, through the test of time, man, he is a tiger to the core, and whatever it takes to help Versailles, he's always been there.
And correct me if I'm wrong, too. When you're in administration and you've got deep roots and ties in a district, there's changes and people that come along that don't always have the district's best interest in mind, but he does a great job of really just keeping his nose to the grind and not causing a fuss, because he's the kind of guy in a district who could beat his chest and throw his weight around because he's done it all. He doesn't do that.
Sure. I remember when he became principal. I think we had some shuffling when Jeff Carter unfortunately passed away.
Yeah.
And admin shuffled. And, Kent never came in and said, I'm the boss. Kent was like a coach. We're a team. And I don't go anywhere if we don't go anywhere. And that's how he always approached every observation in my room, every conversation as a principal to a teacher. The guy just is Versailles. What do we need to do our best? And that's what we did. And he still continues to do this. He still continues to be a big part of my sports history stuff.
Yeah.
And you said he doesn't coach. What's that? No, you're go ahead.
You said he doesn't coach these kids like you said, Nate Frazier. Said you go in there and he is taking this as serious as anything he's ever done.
Oh, the parents love it. The young parents love it. And in fact, I think it was one of the Campbell girls over at Eldon. I saw her in the bleachers, and she goes, he's the same way. I love these kids getting coached like this. I'm like, this new school world sometimes needs a little taste of old school. And, one of my favorite things is in practice, he tells all the boys, I'm watching them do inbounds plays. He goes, you seen the varsity with all those threes, right? You see all what they're doing? Well, we're not going to do that.
That's hilarious.
You go inside, then the threes come from the outside. And I'm like, I like this, man.
That's awesome.
I'm glad my kids get the opportunity, and all our kids get a chance to experience Coach Chamberlain.
Man, and he's made a difference in your life.
Oh,
You've passed that on to so many people.
My son even told him, my 7th grade son, he goes, I learned more basketball in 30 minutes from him when I was playing for him than I did. And that's no knock on anybody else.
Right,
It's just Kent is the man. You know how fortunate we are to have a man of that caliber coaching
Yeah.
our youth teams?
And that's why, full circle, he's this week's Central Ozarks Medical Center hometown hero.